Welcome back to another episode of Vault Talks. Got on another guest speaker for you guys today, Brian Richardson. So I met Brian a few months back just through the networking game. We actually ran into each other at Connect Cincy. So shout out to Kevin Adamski for hosting those events. They're awesome to get out and meet other, go-getters, entrepreneurs in the Cincinnati area. And Brian is definitely one of those guys. So just to tee up Brian a little bit, he owns a fractional CFO business that's called SC Advisory, where they're working with business owners. He's also at P&G. So I know he likes to joke that sometimes P&G is his side job. Other than that, he's got a vending machine business, North Point, even a cannabis cultivation business out in Denver. So, this guy's a serial entrepreneur. I think you guys will enjoy his story. We'll hear a little bit about his background and ultimately how he got to where he is today.
I appreciate it. Appreciate it, JT. Thanks for having me on here. And, I'd be remiss if I didn't say you're one of those go-getters too. I remember the first time I met you, was, like you said, at Connect Cincy. We were at Igby's. You went up and spoke. I looked at Manny, my friend, realtor as well in Cincinnati, and I said, I got to talk to him. Right. And I made my way over right before I left to talk to you. We connected and here we are now. It's great. And then you're one of those guys as well.
I appreciate it, brother. But yeah, starting out, I gave him a brief background on you, but I know I had to miss some things. So go ahead and fill in the gaps.
Yeah. So, ultimately, I wouldn't be who I am without my past, and where I come from. So originally, my family's from the Caribbean. We're from the island of St. Kitts, tiny island, St. Kitts and Nevis. There's, roughly 63,000 people between both islands. I was born here, taken over there when I was 6 weeks, and I've been back and forth my whole life, obviously spending the majority of my time here. I make sure I get back there every December for the whole month just because to visit my family, and that's carnival season. So, it's a party down there. My grandfather was the first entrepreneur in my family. He had an electrical company. He was self-taught, homeless at 13, and made a way for his whole family. Ended up working in the government as a senator. On my dad's side, I had an uncle who ended up being the first prime minister of St. Kitts. So all of that is really just ingrained and instilled in me. Going through life, I had a lot of different hustles, I'll call it. When I was 18, I had a sole proprietorship as I know it now, but I didn't know anything about that back then. I just knew I was doing personal security, and private security for different parties in Clifton. I went to UC. It was a way for me to really go to parties and get paid, but I also had to do some work every now and then. We had to ask some people to leave. But other than that, um, from there to music. I used to manage artists. And then I just always, was a lover of real estate. My uncle, who's out in DC right now, my mother's brother, he got me onto real estate. I graduated. He had a bottle of wine. He drank and talked about commercial real estate until the wine was finished. Once the wine finished, he went to bed. So that conversation ended. But since then, I've always wanted to get into real estate. That's how I ended up meeting Ton and a lot of the other individuals that I work in real estate with as well. I've just always wanted to find my hustles, and I was in different areas, and I kind of was able to narrow it down probably by the time I was 27, 28. I'm 30 now. By the time I was 28, I knew I wanted to be in a couple different industries: tech, finance. Finance is my background. That's what I do at P&G. That's what I went to college for. So tech, finance, logistics, and real estate, right? I felt like those four industries, those four sectors would help me ultimately reach my goals. I remember the first time I ever told somebody what my goals were, and it was nerve-wracking. I was very vulnerable because I didn't know what they were going to say about it. And ultimately, and I'll share that with everybody here, it was with Ton. The first time I ever spoke to Ton, he said, "Hey, what's your why? What are you trying to do?" And I was like, "Oh shit." But I was like, "Man, well, I want to be a billionaire." And he said, "Why?" I said, "Because I want to make sure that my family is structured and set up for the rest of its existence. And I also want to do a lot of community service work in the country that everything originates in St. Kitts. I want to put
hmm
playgrounds. I want to put a library. I want to help build the hospital. I already partner with a couple people every time I go down there in December. I do two charity events. One is with one of the political parties there, the PAM, People's Action Movement, and we do toy drives for every constituency across the country. And then, I go in person, and it's for the kids, underprivileged kids, toys, games, music, food, etc. And then we do another one called Touch One, Give One. And it's where we set up new and lightly used clothes, toys, utensils, etc. And we just have whoever wants to come get them. come get them. The community service aspect is really important for me. My first time ever doing community service was an unofficial program called Everybody Eats. I was in college still, and me and a couple buddies every weekend we'd make sure somebody's got lunch, somebody's got dinner duty, and we'd be on foot downtown Cincinnati feeding the homeless. And then we realized that we can't do that on a college budget. So it only lasted one summer.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I think it's great how you're also giving back too. What I've seen as I talk and meet more successful people is that they're actually the ones who love to give back. The money's great, but if you can't affect other people and spark change, what good's it gonna do? Similar to you, man, I was used to be called Maslow's Army. So we used to go downtown on Sundays. I got put onto that in high school and just pass out meals and clothes. And it's crazy when you see somebody's face light up just for getting a warm meal to eat.
Yeah,
I think a
absolutely.
lot of people take it for granted most of the time, and at the end of the day, doing service work is a way to humble yourself, in my opinion.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's something I want to get my son in on as well as my nephews. My first time ever doing real community service, I was working at a soup kitchen, and that was the most humbling experience I ever had in my life. But I also learned a lot from the people down there as well. So it was called Our Daily Bread, I believe. But
Okay.
that was I was 19 at that time, and that was the most humbling thing I ever did. I fell in love with it.
That's awesome, man. And that's a lot to unpack for me. I know you briefly touched on it. I'm a little curious. So you were managing or producing music at one point?
Yeah, that was crazy. So I had a friend who he was a rapper. I was probably 21 at this time, and he was a rapper, but I loved his music and I just felt like it needs to get out there. I didn't know a thing about managing people, right? I just know how to get you in front of somebody's face, right? And
Hmm.
so I said I pulled up on him one night and I said, "Hey, I'd like to be a manager." And he asked me a question that I was not expecting. And I really was like, how do you have the audacity to ask me this? He said, "All right, what can you do for me?" I was like, "Excuse me? Like,
Yeah.
you don't really have too much going on right now. You don't have a team of anybody. It's just you. Why wouldn't you just?" But it was a business question. What can you do for me? And I told him, everything I can. And the first thing I did was set up a show, sold out the show. It was a showcase as well to where other artists are being judged. And he ended up winning the showcase. And we got to go up to Cleveland to perform. He and I had a friend working at University of Akron. He was working at their radio station. So I set up a radio interview with him. We did that. Ultimately, not too much happened after that. He had another show there and it was a great time. And then I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do this anymore just because I don't think I have what it takes. And then my older brother had a friend who was another artist. And long story short, that one I took really serious for probably about a year and a half, 2 years. And we made a lot of headway. This was probably back to 2017, 2018. And I learned a lot about business. It ended up not going anywhere just because of differences in people, right? But ultimately, I learned so much. I learned how to market. I learned how to work deals. I learned how to set up an LLC. I set up his LLC for him because he didn't know, and I'm his business manager. So
Mhm.
he's assuming I know, and I'm gonna fake it till I make it at that point. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
went through and I ended up doing it, and it was very easy. But regardless, we made some significant progress. The major artist at that time was like Roddy Rich, who was doing his thing. T Grizzly had just came out, and these were artists that were reaching out to us to work with us. We had
Mhm.
a distribution deal with Sony on the table. Like I said, things ended up falling apart, but it was a phenomenal experience in business for me. And I learned like without that, I wouldn't have been able to do what I do now. No negative feelings about that experience at all.
Oh, and I'm sure the music industry, just like the rest of business, is very relationship driven. Just getting experience there because I think a lot of people might have all the knowledge, but if you don't have the relationships or the right network, then it really won't do you much good.
1,000%. And I want to highlight on that. You talking about relationships because those are so important. I know people say don't burn bridges, but
Hmm.
just to understand what that even truly looks like for you. All the relationships I built in the music industry, I have them to this day. Do I use them? No. Every now and then I might see some of those individuals, both Cincinnati and out of Cincinnati, but it's always, a great feeling to talk to them, say hi, catch up. But I also know that if any given point I'm not getting back into music, FYI. But if at any given point, if I did get back, I can go to them and they will take me on just as serious as they did back then. That's just something that you should always have in your back pocket, whether it's music or any relationship that you have, not just for the benefits of it, because these are really good people, is more importantly than anything that they can provide for me business wise, but also the opportunities that are there as well.
Oh, at the end of the day, you never know what's going to happen in the future.
All
And
right.
you build these relationships, you don't burn bridges. Some of them might fizzle out over time. You just never know. I think that's the name of the game right there is just building, being a good person, giving back. I mean, you're doing
Mm.
all three of those things. I want to dive in now and unpack your different business ventures. So you got a
Yeah.
lot on your plate. I'm surprised you don't want to get into music too and add another one on there, but
I don't even have the capacity. A and the funny part about music is I still know a lot of musicians to this day. My family is a huge music family. This is a different genre in St. Kitts. One of my uncles is a lead clarinetist in one of the biggest bands historically there in that country, and then my other uncle was the lead singer of another major band down there. Mother played piano, my father played the piano, I played the piano. So it's music has always been a part of my life. We always make a joke in St. Kitts. It's like it's in you, right? The rhythm's in your soul, and it's the heartbeat of the country. I love music to this day, but I don't know if I'll ever do anything with the business wise. I'll tell you that much.
I hear you. Yeah, I'm sure you got enough on your plate. I guess we could start off with just kind of your advisory business. I think a lot of listeners on here would be curious to learn more about that.
Absolutely. So, a long story short, I always wanted to be a finance manager. I'm a finance manager at P&G, right? That was my dream job, and I got it. But ultimately, looking and learning in such a big company and a big organization, I'm able to understand the ins and outs of the financials behind business decisions and business drivers and operations, marketing, etc. Finance touches everything. And I always joke with people and I say the two most important pieces of business, not in any order, is marketing and finance. If you can have
Mhm.
a terrible product, if you market it well, it's going to sell, and if the financials are right, it's going to work. All right, you can have a great product, same thing. So with the advisory business, originally I used to want to be a personal financial advisor, and then I understood more what they do, and I was like, you know what, that's not for me. Through my background in corporate finance, which I never ever wanted to be a part of in my life, I actually fell in love with helping people through that aspect. Ultimately, the clients that I take on or the clients that I'll say take me on, you know, they right now are small business owners who know how to do what they do, but can't really see too far ahead in the future or don't have the capacity to plan too far ahead in the future, don't have the understanding or the capacity to really work with their finances and understand how finance can drive their business and drive their goals, right? So I partner with them and I use that word as a keyword partner because it's not
Mhm.
up to just me. It's not up to just them. I could lay out the best financial plan in the world for you. If you don't follow it, it's not going to work. Or you can have the best operations and my financial plan is horrible. Ideally, that's not the case, but it's just a way for me to work with small businesses and mid-sized businesses to really help them with their financials to achieve the goals that they're trying to achieve. So I take that approach to it, and whatever's in their best interest is what comes first. We work on growth, capital allocation, M&A, and it's really overwhelming for them. So just being able to
Mhm.
take that portion off their plate and help them allow them to be great at what they are. I'm great at what I am, and we put it together and we try to make sure there's success for the company.
No, that's awesome, man. Just delegating in general is something that starting out as a business owner, you're not even thinking of it. You're
Mhm.
just trying to grow this thing from nothing. And then I think a lot of small businesses fall into the trap of they start getting some traction, they start growing, and the business owner just refuses to delegate. They're used to
Yeah.
doing it their own way. And what we've seen, I'm sure you've seen it, bringing on people who are experts in their area, no bad's going to come out of that. That's how you
Yep.
truly start scaling your business.
Yep. Absolutely. The hard part about having your business, that's your baby, right? And delegating is the trust factor.
Hmm.
Are they going to treat it the way you'd want to be treated? Are they going to care as much as you care about your business? And that's the thing that I try to give to my clients is when I come on board, I say I'm your partner. I'm your business partner. I have clients that will be up all hours of the night talking business strategy, no finance talk, right?
Hmm.
Just business strategy, marketing strategy. Because when you bring on a fractional CFO, right, they are just that, your CFO. They're not, it is fractional as in part time, but the work I do for you is to help you one bounce ideas off and I am your partner in that whole journey. I care just as much as you do, and also with the smaller business, it's more personal for the client, right? These decisions change their lives on a daily basis. So being able to impact their lives that way is phenomenal. I mean, my last business sale that we worked, it was tough. It was tough. It was long. The broker wasn't providing what the individual was hoping for, because they were new to this area of M&A. And so I stepped in and put on a couple different hats. His wife reached out and was like, "Thank you so much. Come over for dinner." And we went over for dinner. He bought some whiskey, some cigars. They put some steaks on the grill, and that was enough for me. Just the
Hmm.
thought of them appreciating this so much that the wife wanted me to come to the. I had never spoken to her before,
Yeah,
right? And she was so thankful because she saw at home how relieved he was. So
that's awesome. I see a little bit of that as well in my space. As you know, I'm working with Infinite Banking,
mhm.
and we're working with a lot of business owners, whether it's their operating account, quarterly taxes, key person, and like you said, just being able to build a relationship. It's not just, oh, this is a client. It's no, this is a friend. What I've seen, I'm sure you've seen the same. You feel like you're growing with the company. Like,
Yep.
I'm not part of your business, but I'm just as happy when I see you growing as I'm sure you are. So that's why we do it at the end of the day.
1,000%. 1,000%.
That's good stuff. I do want to hear more too about your vending machine and cannabis business because
Yeah.
before this podcast, I didn't even know those were going on as well. You're
Yeah.
busier than I thought.
So the vending business, my older brother, he has been asking me for years to get into vending machines. I was like, yo, I don't have the time. I'm big on efficiency, right? I don't have the time to be going to vending machines, checking them out, seeing if something needs to be stocked, then going to get the stuff, then coming back. I don't have time to be taking cash to the bank. And the yield isn't worth it. I mean, your average vending machine might make $600 a month, traditional, right? And I'm
Hmm.
like, we're not doing this for $600 a month gross sales, right? And one thing I do at night is I look at different business ventures, different business opportunities, whether I'm not planning on buying it or not, but I look, right? And I was on YouTube and I saw this smart vending. I was like, oh, okay, what's going on here? And I looked at it, and the thing that impressed me the most was the time savings, right? The amount of time you don't have to spend on that business. It's pretty self sufficient. You just got to stop when everything's low, and you'll know it's low because it is a platform that you go on your phone or your laptop, iPad, whatever, and you can see, right? You can monitor everything. So I reached out to my brother and I told him about it, and he was like kind of iffy on it. And I'm thinking, like, what do you mean? This is what you've been asking me to do for years. And he called me back the next day and was like, can we do it? And I was like, yeah. He said, no, listen, can we do it? I was like, yeah, we can. And that was literally last May. We started the LLC. By June, we had a location. And it shouldn't have happened that fast, but it happened that fast, and it's actually phenomenal. I mean, like I said, your average traditional vending machine might do $600 a month. Your average smart machine probably 2,000 a month. We looked for a college. A college. Why? Because these kids have a more discretionary income than anybody else because it's mom and dad's income. But we also wanted to do it so that there was a level of safety. Late at night, instead of them having to walk to wherever, they can just go to whichever floor the machine's on and get what they need. Crazy enough, our first location was our flagship location, $7,000 a month in revenue. And I was just like, holy shit. This is pretty cool. Of course, I split a lot of stuff with my brother. We have systems in place for inventory and stuff like that. So that was really the biggest thing was how do we make this as automated as possible so that the only work we have to do is maybe physically ordering something or physically going to stock the machine. He has a couple kids. They are all in it with him. They love going to stock the machines with him. My oldest nephew will text me saying, hey, Uncle B, what are numbers today? And that's the coolest thing in the world. Ultimately, the business is for him, for my brother. That's what I'm really in it for. He's got a very tough job, a dangerous job, and he doesn't like it, but he does it because it feeds the family and it allows them to do everything they do. So the goal is for him to be able to get out of that, do this full time. And as I mentioned, logistics, I want to grow this to where we have a warehouse. We have staging, storage, picking, the whole warehouse experience, not just for ourselves, but for other vending machine operators. We have a fleet in the transportation section to
Mhm.
deliver goods, etc. So that's the goal. Ultimately, is this was also for us our avenue into the logistics space.
I'm a big believer that, building wealth means you bring people along for the ride with you. And that's
Yeah.
awesome that your little nephews, you're making them young entrepreneurs, teaching them the basics. And man, I love to hear stuff like that. Smart vending machines, are those the ones where it just knows what you took out and charges you? You scan your
Yeah.
card before? Okay.
Yeah, so it's 100% cashless, scan, swipe, tap, Apple Pay, whatever pay, and it'll take a $10 hold. You open that door, you take whatever you want. It's got cameras. You close the door. Within 2 hours, it'll send you a receipt of what you took, and it'll charge you accordingly. If it's under the 10, you'll get reimbursed immediately. If it's above the 10, they'll take the extras immediately. And you really get to see the patterns of some of these students, right? Some of them are not very healthy. Some of them have the munchies late at night, right? And the thing with it is being able to open the machine and take more. It's a larger basket size, right? So instead of pressing A1 and getting a Reese's, you open that door, they'll take a Reese's, they'll take an Airheads, they'll take a bag of chips, and you know what? They got laundry tonight. Let's grab the Tide Pods. And so, like, we have everything in there for these students. Everything from, like I said, candy, chips, Tide Pods, paper towels, toilet papers. We have tampons. We have condoms, right? And it's all the needs of the students. And we see what they buy. We know what they're buying. It's a good feeling when you go to restock it and they come and they're like, "Thank you so much," or they might say, "Hey, can you put this in there?" And if there's enough demand for it, we'll change something out. We'll put it in there, and then they'll come back and they'll thank us. They'll play with my brother's kids. And so they know us. They know us at the locations that we are in, and it's gratifying to see them. Like, we know now, hey, at 4 a.m. this guy went here instead of having to walk down to UDF. And
Yep.
so it's UC, right? There's some sketchy areas down there,
Hmm.
unfortunately, but they're safe. So
Man, that's awesome. I've always been intrigued by the vending machine business as well, but like you, I just thought, oh, that can't really cash flow too much. But I guess these smart vending machines are changing the game.
they are. They are. And there's different operators. A lot of the machines, they come with the POS service. They come with somebody managing the software and everything of that nature. The biggest worry I was actually kind of concerned with was what happens when things go wrong, right? What happens if a customer gets charged for the wrong thing, etc. I'll tell you, we've processed over 10,000 transactions at that one location, and we've had 4 email complaints. And of those 4 email complaints, they were all the same thing, which they didn't read the instructions that said it takes $10 first.
Okay.
And so they're like, "Hey, took the $10," and we just let them know it's coming right back.
I mean, if somebody's listening and wants to get into that world, how did you guys go about buying your first one?
Absolutely. So first thing you do is get the location. You never
Okay.
get a machine before. I think that's a big mistake a lot of people make. But after you get the location, we deal with, and I don't know if I should give this out, but I will just because I want everybody to succeed. Micromart. Micromart is the vendor slash manufacturer that we utilize. They send the machine with everything in it. You have to send what a product list and things of that nature, but they have great account representatives there and they have a great support. If you reach out to them, they have a chat support and email support. So if I ever check and see online that the machine's offline for some reason, reach out to the chat support and they put it back online for me. Or if somebody emails me an issue, I'll email the email support and they'll come back and they'll look into it, investigate and fix the issue. So, I mean, in all honesty, utilizing Micromart, they have great plans whether you want to buy it outright or you want to lease it. And, leasing is one of the greatest things to do because it helps you scale. Obviously, you will have a payment and you are paying interest over however many years, but, they'll qualify you if you're qualified to get a lease. And the qualification is strictly on the location. It's not about a credit score. It's not about how much money you got in the bank, anything. It's, does this location serve? Do you have a long-term contract? Is the foot traffic heavy enough for it to seem like they're going to get paid, everybody's going to get paid, etc. So, um, yeah, Micromart is who I utilize.
That's giving out free sauce today, so
Yeah, I know,
I
I
hope the
know.
listeners appreciate it because you usually can't get this stuff firsthand. I'm so glad to hear that's taken off for you guys, and
Shit.
the other business aspect is the cannabis business. So I was
That
actually
one,
just in Colorado about 2 weeks ago. I did not know you had that rolling down there.
yeah, that was one of the coolest businesses I've been into. It's one of the most stressful to start up. So
Hmm.
we got into it. Well, I had a friend, long story short, back in college who I did introduce him to the herb, and ultimately he fell in love with it. And he told me one day, he's like, "Hey, I wanna move to Colorado and get into this business." I'm like, "All right, whatever, right? If you say so." I didn't think he would do it, and then like 2 years later, he came to me. He's like, "Hey, help me plan my financial budget so that this can happen." So we did that. He moved out there. He worked in a couple different dispensaries, and he was just living his life. I went out there to visit him, and it was a ball. And then he reached out to me, said, "Man, they're doing it terribly. Like, all this stuff has all these chemicals in it. It's not pure, etc. I want to give people this product." Key example of an individual who he knew how to do the thing,
Hmm.
didn't understand the business behind it at the time. So now he had a decent understanding, but didn't fully understand what it was to own a company. This is 2020. No, this might have been the start of 2021. He says, "Hey, I need a CFO. Can you do that for me?" And I was like, "Hey, I'll be honest. You can't afford a CFO, right? If we put that title on there, there's a lot of zeros that come on
Mhm.
that paycheck, right?" That's what I told him. But really, in all honesty, JT, my thing was I didn't feel that I could do it. I
Yeah.
was insecure. So I said, how about this? I'll put together the financial plan. We'll work it. If you want to call me your CFO to the investors, that's no problem. But why don't we just do it in the sense of you're not going to pay me. I'll take some equity. And we worked that and he was all for it, got some equity in it. I came up with the whole financial plan. I'll be honest, it was my first time doing it. I had a 62-page freaking financial plan for this thing. I did it monthly for 5 years. I did a whole marketing business plan, and I gave it to him. I couldn't. He went to New York for the investors. I couldn't fly out there with him, but he handled it. He got the investors on board. It's 2021, and let's do this. So we raised the money. It was about $2 million, purchased the
Mhm.
facility. Well, before we purchased the facility, we're trying to get the paperwork, and then we're trying to get certifications, etc. And every time we tried, we ran into a roadblock. Like, boom, you guys have to do this different. Okay, fine. And then there's no blueprint for the cannabis
Mhm.
industry, so we're figuring it out. We ended up getting everything. We got the facility, and 3 months in, it catches fire, and we're
Oh.
like, what the you're like, come on, man.
Mm.
So that was a tough bounce back, but today it's thriving, it's doing great. I love going out there and visiting it. It's the coolest thing to walk through the facility. And there's a lot of care that goes into this. Like every plant has to have a different room, like every type of plant, whether it's the female plants, whether it's the babies, everything's in a different place. But then once you get into like the big boy rooms is what I call them. That's where everything's grown. And it's like a movie. You
Mhm.
walk in and like, holy shit, and it's definitely, like I said, it's the coolest business I've been a part of. But it was stressful. I grew a gray hair or two in the beginning, but it's doing well right now. And I also tell you another thing that we have going on is me and Tom, we are actually in the process of buying businesses as well, right?
Okay.
Buying businesses, more so in the, I guess you can call it service industry. Like we're
Mhm.
talking construction, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, etc. Buying them, growing them, selling. So it's like we don't have a company form, but we're in early talks. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but here we are. Right? Um, but we've been actively working with a lot of brokers trying to identify good businesses to buy. Kind of doing our own little mini private equity thing right now. I bring the financial expertise. He brings the operational expertise. We obviously will all have an operator. We're going to be more in the background, whilst we'll have somebody taking care of the daily operations. But, that's another venture that we started up, honestly, over a lot of alcohol on the campfire. That's where that came from. And, we're doing it. We're actively doing it. So it's a lot of fun. And I'm excited to see where everything goes with that. That's obviously going to be part of my road and part of my success road to achieving the goals I'm trying to achieve.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Just for the listeners, so Ton was on our last podcast, and if you guys remember, he said the way he evaluates somebody's personality is he takes them to the bar and has 2 drinks with them. And he tells them he tells them that he's going to be the same person whether he's sober or 2 drinks in. He's going to be cursing like a sailor and being himself. So,
Yeah, that's Don. You met him. You met him. That's him. And I think our first time going to the bar and having those drinks, he's serious. Like what
mhm,
it might sound crazy, but he's dead serious. And he saw that I didn't change when I got drunk. He also saw that I could handle my alcohol, so that was kind of cool. But it's big for him to be who you are authentically, right? And I'll be honest with the listeners, that's something I've struggled with, just coming from two different places that are
mhm,
very, very different. Spending a lot of time in St. Kitts in the house. It's ran in a Caribbean manner. And then when you step outside, it's America. So for a long time, I struggled with that. And then probably wasn't until I was like 23, 24, so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to be me. Like it even got to the point where I didn't even know how I spoke. And I told my dad, and he said, man, however you talk to yourself inside your head is how you speak, right? But my mom was big on communication. Hey, you have
mhm,
to be able to communicate with people. It's a talent I learned. It wasn't something that I should be ashamed of, in the sense of being able to speak in a way where everybody could understand. But then also, when I go back and, I'm with whoever, it's a whole nother situation. And even when I'm talking to my mom, it's a whole other situation. But, this is me. And I
Yep.
thought it wasn't me being able to speak like this. I thought I was putting something up, but this is me, and then when I'm with them, that's me as well. It's the same person. Might sound a little different, but same person, same values, same things I won't do, etc.
I think that probably plays a pretty vital role into why you're successful. You're true to yourself, not trying to be something you're not. And obviously people like Ton and others in that area, they see that and they recognize it and they continue to want to work with you. So hats
Mhm.
off for doing that. I think a lot of people nowadays try to put on a front, you know.
Yeah.
I like to say I got a nose for bullshit. So
Yeah, I love it.
if I can be around someone for about an hour chopping it up, I can usually say like, oh, I think this is a good guy
Yeah.
or not. And now I kind of want to shift over. So being an entrepreneur, there's
Mhm.
probably a lot of younger entrepreneurs listening to this. And I mean, even just me, you have me pretty fired up to start looking into some of these other ventures. But what's some advice you can give them that maybe it was a setback, a failure, something you didn't see coming across any of your businesses? Maybe just like one or two of the biggest pieces of advice you could leave with them.
Yeah, do it. Just do it.
Mm-hmm.
If you overplan, like it's not gonna go the way you expect. It's not gonna go the way you want. It's not gonna go the way you hope. Do it. I could have started a lot of these companies much earlier, but I was waiting because till I had the perfect business plan,
Yep.
the perfect timing, the right amount of money, etc. Just do it, and everything's gonna unfold accordingly. Because it's not about the business plan that you make up. It's about who you are and being able to deal with what goes wrong or what goes right. Right. So just do it. That's first. Other one is ask questions early,
Mm-hmm.
ask questions often. Just because, you know, you don't know everything,
Yep.
and you have to, you have whether you surround yourself with people who do know or not. Figure it out whether you're asking in another individual, whether you're asking chat, right? A chat GPT ask the questions. You don't have to fail by yourself and waste time. And then three is the last one for me. Most importantly, surround yourself with the right people.
Yep.
There was a book called Tribe of Millionaires that changed my life. And, when you have the right individuals around you, ideally they're people who aren't just good at what you're good at, but
Mm-hmm.
especially good at what you're not. That's a recipe for success because you cannot do this alone, right? Whether it's an attorney, whether it's an accountant, whether it's, somebody that you're paying or somebody that you're not paying, right? Have the right people around you and the right resources. And that'll shorten the learning curve, but that'll take you as far as you want to go.
That's awesome, man. I couldn't agree more. And just for the listener to think about, I've had a lot of successful people on this podcast, and the common denominators, every single one of them talks about the importance of learning from others, having mentors. You would think guys in these type of positions know it all. That's really not the case. Everybody, no matter how big, successful you think somebody is, they learned those skills from somebody else. That's what I've seen. And, if you're stubborn, if you think you know it all, you might in the short term, but long term, that's going to catch up to you. That's my 2 cents. I don't know if you agree or disagree, but
100%, 100%. And, I did say something about faking it till I made it. But that was in that one circumstance. Outside of that, I'm not going to, one thing I won't fake is like, I know something that I don't. Right. And I'm not afraid to lean on others for help.
I think this was a fantastic episode. Just getting to learn about you and your business ventures. Some great advice for the younger entrepreneurs.
No, I appreciate it. And just for us, definitely for us to continue to get together. I know we talk, text message, and when we see each other in person, it's always phenomenal. We're able to leverage each other in ways outside of just being good friends to each other. We'll have our conversations about the Elder LaSalle things off camera, but uh, but other than that, I'm glad you're doing this. There's an audience that needs to hear it. Also, there's an audience that wants to hear it. And, you're going to help a lot of people through this podcast. And I'm proud of everything that you're doing.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. I've wanted to do this forever. For whatever reason, I've put it off, but I've realized there's a audience for it. People want to hear it, and the whole theme of this podcast is just raw Q&As. So I told
Mm,
Brian before we got on here, look, man, I don't have any questions written out. I don't really know where we're gonna take this, but we'll just kind of play off each other and keep
mm.
that rawness. And I'm hoping that's what makes my podcast stand out to the listeners. So
Absolutely.
He touched on it briefly. I am a Panther. His son's playing over for the LaSalle Lancers right now. Football stud. I
Yeah.
mean, he's always traveling all over. So good luck to him this upcoming season. Make sure you guys check him out. But if the listener wants to learn more about you, Brian, where can they find you? Social media, website?
Absolutely. I mean, biggest thing, social media for me. You can reach out to me on my personal Instagram. That's B_Rich869, or you can reach out to me on the Instagram for the finance company, just at SC Advisory. So please reach out to me. I'm always, I always respond. It comes directly to me. It's not a bot. It's not an assistant. We're not there yet, but we'll get there eventually. And hopefully I'll still respond to you guys even when that happens. So
Hey, I'll tell you what, guys. He's true to his word because we met at a networking event. I just went on and hit him up to go grab coffee. I mean, we had it set up within a week. So as busy as this guy is, he still makes time to give back and share his knowledge. So great guy. I mean, if you guys enjoyed today, I think you'd be silly to not reach out to Brian. That's all I got for you today
appreciate it,
on
JP.
this episode of Vault Talk. So again, thank you, Brian, for coming on, and we look forward to hearing you guys on the next episode.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.